Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about economics and why I think that the United States is in a permanent downward economic spiral. Okay, I don't think there's going to be a recovery from this. Now, for those of you who don't know, my background is as an accountant. Okay, I've done accounting work for most of my adult life. More towards my earlier years now, I don't do that much work. I do more fun things at this point in my life. But I've been through a couple of recessions. I remember the one in 1994, okay, and that was a very clear case of the economy heating up and the Federal Reserve wanting to slow it down, so they increased increased the interest rates to slow it down, and it's hard to tell exactly how much braking pressure you need to apply to an economy, so they always go a little bit overboard. And they usually, you end up with a deeper recession than you normally want. Okay, so that's what happened in '94. In 2001, the recession was essentially spurred by the World Trade Center attacks. Okay, so that wasn't engineered the way previous recessions had been, through the. Like there was one back in '84, '85. That was a little bit before my time, but that was also the case in '84. That was also engineered. The 2001 one was sort of involuntary, but it was essentially at the right time because through 2000, basically the economy was so hot, that the prices were going up really fast. So we were about due for a recession, right? But what happened is the World Trade Center attacks happened, and that kind of slowed things down a little bit. But the thing with that was that we were all kind of like on the same side, right? We got attacked. We all kind of united. We all said, "Hey, we wanted to get back at the attackers." So we were all kind of on the same. We all wanted to see the economy do well at that point, right? It wasn't like one side really wanted the other side to really fail politically or economically. So that was 2001. Then 2008. That was also an engineered recession. Economy started doing really well, right? We came out of this 2001 recession. Economy got better. By 2008, prices had gone up high. Real estate prices were insane. Okay, and then what happened was, in fact, what happened back in 2001 when we had the recession, that really didn't affect real estate prices that much. So the recession in 2001 wasn't a really deep recession. It was caused more by the terrorist attacks and people just being a little unsure of the future. So the real estate prices never had a chance to reset. So in 2008, what happened was because the real estate prices were just so, unreasonably high. As soon as the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, the real estate market crashed. Which, in my opinion, that was the cure. Right? That was the cure to insanely overpriced real estate prices. And I did pretty good in 2008. I bought a whole bunch of real estate, as it was crashing. That's the thing. Like, I've always looked at recessions as a good thing. That's a buying opportunity. So a lot of people in business, look at it that way. We make money, economy is going up, and when the economy is going down. Okay. So in 2021, we're in a very different situation here. Okay. And this is the reason why I'm saying that the economy is in a permanent downward spiral, because unlike all these other recessions, right, 94, 2001, 2008, everybody was on board. We all wanted the economy to do well. In 2020, or actually, let's go back now to 2019, we had a booming economy under President Trump. And Democrats were insanely jealous of this. They knew that there was no possible chance that they could basically win an election with the economy doing so well. So basically, they pretty much engineered this pandemic. Okay, now COVID might have been true as some variation of the flu. In fact, my neighbor currently has COVID. She said, "Yeah, it feels like a really bad cold." Not that big of a deal. Okay. And yes, I know that a lot of people did die from it, but a lot of those people already were either really old or had pre-existing conditions. I mean, I grew up in New York City. Obviously, I know a lot of people. New York City was supposed to be like one of the hotbeds, right? So with all the thousands of people that I've met in my life in New York City, where I grew up, I don't know of a single person that died of COVID. Okay, a real pandemic is like when like 1 out of every 5 people that you know has died. Okay, that would be a real a real plague. Okay, so with all the thousands of people that I've met throughout my life, I don't personally know anybody that has died of COVID. I'm not saying it's not real, but I don't. It's not this massive plague that they try to make it out to be. I mean, before my Facebook account got shut down, I had I think maybe 600 Facebook friends from different organizations, and I think I have met one person. Actually, I had like 2 Facebook friends that had gotten it. One guy had like heart disease. Again, I don't personally know anybody that has died from it. So, there's people I know on Facebook that died in car accidents. I know more people that died from car accidents than have died from COVID. Okay, so that kind of tells me, right? Because I'm looking at the real numbers. All right, I don't believe anything in the news. I think I know enough people at this point of my life. I'm 49 years old. I have met thousands and thousands of people. I'll use that as a better sample to judge how deadly this disease is, all right, versus what the media is telling me. So COVID was basically a bullshit flu that the Democrats basically they took advantage of it. They made it out to, because basically they knew that there's no way that they could beat Trump with a booming economy. And I believe that they intentionally decided that they were going to shut down the economy. They were going to use COVID as the excuse to shut down the economy in an effort to get Trump removed from office or elected out of office. Okay, and that, as we all know at this point, that wasn't even enough. In the end, they had to cheat as well. So that was COVID. That was basically a political scam. They shut down the economy, which kind of created sort of a mini recession. All right, and then they started with the crazy money printing, right? Because people weren't going to sit around and do nothing, right, and not eat, right, and not pay, So they basically started printing out money because they needed to stop the economy, but at the same time they needed people to not complain. So they came up with this idea: hey, if we print money and we give it to them, they'll be happy with the fact that the economy is crashing, but maybe they won't be happy enough to re-elect Trump. If it's not a situation like it was back in 2019. Okay, so that was the thing. They started printing money like crazy, and if you don't think that raising the debt ceiling is and raising the debt is printing, you don't understand how it works. I mean, the number trillion is an insanely large number. It shouldn't even exist. It's a number that's thrown around too easily that people really don't understand what an insanely big number is. There's not 1 trillion grains of sand on the earth, okay? 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years, okay? So that's how big the number trillion is. So when they say they're borrowing $1 trillion, they're not borrowing $1 trillion from anybody, because nobody has $1 trillion to lend anybody, okay? The number trillion does not exist other than if you're counting stars, counting molecules, or if basically you're just looking at computer generated numbers, okay? So that's what trillion is. So when they say that they got $1 trillion, they're increasing the national debt by $3 trillion, right? So they're doing 3 times this insane number. They're not borrowing money from anybody. They have no intention of paying it back. It's just straight money printing. The national debt is just a representation of how much money the government has printed out of thin air. Now, that said, I've done other videos on this. Money's printed all the time. Like if you go to get a loan on your house, basically the bank prints up money to give you that loan, right? The banking rules allow them to do that. But that money that they're printing up that they're creating is backed up by a real asset, your house or your car, or whatever you put up as collateral. When the government prints money, they're not putting up an asset as collateral. They're putting up this bullshit debt as the instrument to back up that money. And the result is that us, when we create money through borrowing, we're using real assets to back it up. The government is not, so they're not limited as to how much money they can print up. So they're basically just diluting the money. So it's basically a tax. They're taxing us indirectly because anytime they're printing up money, diluting the value of our money, what they're doing is they're lessening our buying power. So essentially they're taxing us. Okay, so that's what the money printing is. Okay, so going on here again, the whole goal of this, the whole purpose of this video is to explain why we're in this permanent downward spiral. So we got the money printing, all right, through 2020. Then we go into 2021. We've got Democrats now in control, and now we got more money printing. Okay, so we got money printing on top of money printing, and then this is backed up by a refusal to go to work. All right, people don't want to work. Everybody wants the unemployment money, which is obviously free. Getting paid to not work is better than getting paid to work. Okay, and that's even the case if you're making less money, right? But in this case, a lot of people are getting more money for not working. Okay, so so far you're seeing the difference. We've got here a situation that's very different from recessions that we had in 94, 2001, 2008, where people were out of work and wanting to get back to work. Now we've got people out of work and not wanting to ever go back to work. Okay, everybody's very happy with not working, with getting this printed money, not realizing that this printed money is actually pushing up the price of things, right? So gas is going up, lumber is going up. Anything of value is actually going up. So yes, people are getting more money, but it's worthless because it's buying less and less. Okay, and they're not realizing that. Okay, so again, moving towards the direction of explaining why we are in this terrible, irreversible downward spiral. Okay, at this point we're in a recession. We're printing money like crazy. So here's the difference. Prior recessions, the goal of the recession was to increase the value of the dollar, right? That was the solution. We're gonna increase interest rates, so less money will be printed up, right? And basically because there's less money flowing around out there, the value of the dollar is going to go up. So now through this recession, they're doing the exact opposite, right? Instead of lessening the supply of money, they're increasing the supply of money, devaluing the money even more. There's incentives for people not to work. There's a mentality where people don't want to work, right? And then you've got the political hatred, okay? The political hatred is real. It's at a level that I don't think we've ever seen in my life. I've never seen in my lifetime. It's at a level where I see the Democrat Party as more of an enemy to me than the Taliban or Al Qaeda. Okay, that's where it's at, and I'm being honest with you guys. I mean, that's where I see the Democrats. I'm sure they feel the same about me. Now, and I'm not saying that Republicans are good. Okay, I'm just saying that Democrats are that bad. Okay, and again, I'm sure that they see me in the same way. Okay, so but that's where we are politically. I mean, I see Democrats as worse, more of a threat to me than the Taliban or Al Qaeda. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, I've never, the Taliban never tried to restrict my rights. Democrats have, okay, and they continue to do this. I mean, that seems to be their number one goal in life. So that's where we are now. There's political hatred going both ways. Okay, we have an extremely weak president who's getting weaker and weaker at an increasing rate. Even his own party is trying to distance themselves from him. After this, after the chaos in Afghanistan. I mean, and the guy is like, he seems to be like oblivious to what's happening and what the results are happening. I mean, he says that he thinks he has the full support of leaders around the world. Meanwhile, they're condemning him. So this guy is like, I mean, he just doesn't understand what's happening. He's completely separated from reality. So Democrats starting to distance themselves from Biden and Kamala because she's also part of that team. Now, on top of that, we've got China and Russia, right, who are seeing the situation over here, that's seeing all these things over here, the money printing, the political hatred, the weak president, and you better believe they're looking at the situation and they're trying to figure out how they're going to position themselves. Now, we got China and Russia here. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes I see is that, it's like we've positioned ourselves, so it's us against China and Russia. There's no reason for that. What we should have done was ally ourselves with Russia and get them to fight China, okay? Instead of, making ourselves an enemy to both of them, where now we potentially have to fight both of them, or we have the two of them colluding and working together against us. So that's bad. That's bad strategy, bad strategic planning. As soon as we saw this is going back 10, 15 years ago. As soon as we saw that China was becoming such a world power and that Russia had declined so much militarily, we should have immediately allied ourselves with Russia and got the Russians to basically try and clip the wings of the Chinese. Okay, but instead of it being us and the Russians against the Chinese, it's now the Chinese and the Russians against us. Okay, and then that's on top of all this stuff over here. So on top of that, on top of the Chinese and Russian threat, we also have the terrorist threat, right? Because now, basically after Biden disastrously pulled out of Afghanistan, gave them all our military equipment. All right, it's crazy that the Democrats are, they don't want us to have guns, but they're arming terrorists, right? And nobody can say they didn't do it. They did it. There's actually videos. There's video of the Taliban, wearing American military gear now, right? It's crazy. So and you can bet that the Chinese and the Russians are going to use these terrorists in Afghanistan and in Iraq and all over the world now as an asset, right? Because they're not going to want to fight us directly, at least initially. They're going to fund them and have them attack us, right? So that's where they're going to get their funding from. There's nothing we can do about that, because we might be able to, stop a couple of terrorists here and there, but as long as these guys are funding them, they're going to just keep coming at us. Okay, so that's not going to switch. So basically, we had Afghanistan as a place where we could kind of, fight them over there. It's always better to fight them over there rather than fight them here. But instead, now we're going to be fighting them here. So terrible strategy. It's just a mess. Biden created a mess. I didn't like the fact. The one thing I didn't like about the Iraq and Afghanistan war is that it gave more power to the Democrats. Right, it put them in a position where they got more power because they allied themselves with the military industry. So it gave power to people that shouldn't have power. But now, we're in this situation where now China, Russia, the terrorists, they're gonna be pulling the strings. So they're gonna be able to attack us anywhere they want, anytime they want. Yeah, a couple of them may get killed, but hey, there's more behind them. Okay, so that's the situation there. And the worst thing, again, the purpose of this video is why we are in this permanent downward spiral. I'm going to tell you guys, I have no confidence in democracy at this point. Okay, especially after that 2020 election, where the Democrats basically just completely, they completely stole that election. We got videos of fake ballots being pulled out from underneath tables. None of that was ever investigated. So at this point, I have no confidence in democracy, and I'm sure that a lot of people out there as well don't have any confidence in democracy. So all these things that I've described here, right? These things did not exist in prior recessions. Okay, so we've got here this recession that we're heading into that's going to quickly turn into a depression, and there's just not going to be any way to come out of it because you have all these things on top of each other, right? We've got the money printing, we've got this new mentality where people don't want to work. We're happy not working. Where being on unemployment is kind of like a life goal. Okay, we got the political hatred, right? And I'll admit I'm part of it. I absolutely hate Democrats, right? Not that I love Republicans, but I hate Democrats, and I'm sure that they hate me. So you got this terribly weak president. You've got the combination of China and Russia basically uniting against us, and I'm pretty sure that the Europeans are going to probably ally themselves with them because, hey, we're on the other side of the world. It makes more sense for them to be friendly with them than to try and be friendly with us, because I mean, what's the point? I mean, we're in horrible shape. I mean, so I definitely see the Europeans as jumping ship and trying to get friendly with the Chinese and the Russians, which will kind of leave us by ourselves completely. We got the terrorist threat, and then again we got our no confidence in our own democracy. So this is not recoverable from. I mean, this is a terrible situation, and it's insane that we're at this point. After 2019, we were like at the best I've ever seen this country at. Right, in 2019 under President Trump, this was the best America I had seen in my lifetime, and the Democrats intentionally destroyed it with the political pandemic hoax, because they was just so power hungry and so jealous that they were like really willing to destroy the country just to just to get power, and they didn't care what kind of a country they got back as long as they were in power. Okay, so that's where we're at now, and yeah, this is a bad situation that I don't see a way out of this. I mean, it's just there's just too many things that are just piling up one on top of the other. Okay, so I'm just sharing my thoughts with you guys. If you guys have any ideas of your own, please put it in the comment section. And listen, if you guys disagree with me, by all absolutely. I'm not saying I know everything, but this is how I see things. Having lived through several recessions, having been able to analyze them, and again, like I said, I'm coming at this from the background of an accountant. So this coming recession is not like anything we've ever seen before, because we've got like everything going against us. Okay, so put some comments in the comment section. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.